Okay, so for this tutorial we are going to be making increases. Okay, so remember in the last video we worked on this and we made a decrease. Okay, this was initially about 8.5 inches in width, and then we decreased it at this point to 6.5. So to learn how to make increases when working on any project, okay, we're just going to do what we made for the decreases, but instead of making a 2-in-1, we are going to be placing a 2-in-1 instead. Okay, so let's get to it. So now I'm just going to continue my rule as usual. Okay, so to, let's say for the project I'm making, okay, depending on what you're working on, let's say I want to make an increase of 3 inches. Okay, so we had about 6.5 inches here. Okay, this is this 6.5 inches, as you can see. Okay, so we're going to be making an increase from 6.5 to around 8 inches. Okay, so let's say I want to increase this to be, no, let's just say 9 inches, from 6.5 to 9 inches. So that should be an addition of 2.5 inches. So all I have to do, like we did in the previous row, okay, take, like we did when for the decreases, you just take your tape and you place it on your work like so, and you want to count how many stitches max up to 2.5. Okay, this is where my 2.5 is, as you can see. So we're just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we have a total of 14 stitches. Okay, that marks my 2.5. That means to get an increase of 2.5, I'm going to be increasing 14 stitches. Okay, so that's that. So all I have to do now is to chain 3, turn my work. This counts as the first double crochet, and then we are going to place stitch markers. Okay, so if your stitch, depending on, if you want to make your increases on one line, okay, all the increase in one line, you can decide to place your stitch markers, 14 stitch markers, which is going to mark for each of the places you're going to make your increase. If you want it in 2 rows, you divide 14 by 2, which is 7. So for the first row you increase 7, for the next row you increase 7, and that sums it. If you want to make it in 3 rows, so it's totally up to you and depending on the project you're working on. So now for me, I want to make the increases in the next 2 rows. Okay, and since I'm supposed to be working with 14, I'm going to divide it by 2, giving me 7. So for this row I'm going to increase 7 stitches, and for the next row I'm going to increase 7 stitches. So I just want to place 7 stitch markers on each of the work randomly, so that I can be able to know where to make my increases. Okay, so I've placed my stitch markers. Okay, so I placed 7 stitch markers. Okay, so on each place I have my stitch marker, I'm going to make an increase there. So you're just going to keep working on your project as you would. Okay, if you're making a single crochet, you make a single crochet. If you're making a double crochet, you make a double crochet. Just any stitch you're working on, you just want to keep doing that stitch until you get to where your stitch marker is. For me, it's a double crochet, so I'm just making my regular double crochets until now I'm at where my stitch marker is. Okay, so I'll just take that off, and then to make the increase you want to place 2 stitches in one. Okay, so I'll be placing 2 double crochet into this very stitch here. So I'm making my first, so that's the normal one there. So I'm going to place a second one into that same stitch where I just made a double crochet. So as you can see now, I have 2 double crochet in one stitch, so that is it for that increase. So on the next stitch you place your normal double crochets. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I get to the next place where I have my stitch marker. Okay, so you just take that stitch marker off, and then on that stitch there you place 2 double crochet into one stitch. So I'm making the first one. Okay, and then you place the second one. So it must not be a double crochet, depending on the stitch you're working on. If it's a single crochet, you make a single crochet stitch there. If it's a half double crochet, place 2 half double crochet there. So that is it for your increase. Just make sure you're putting 2 stitches in one. So that's that now. So as you can see, I have placed 2 double crochet into one stitch, and then on the next stitch I made a normal double crochet. On the next stitch I'm also going to place a normal double crochet. So you just keep repeating this on each of the places where we have our stitch markers. Okay, you're going to place your 2 double crochet in one, 2 double crochet in one, 2 double crochet, like so, until you get to the end of this row. My first row of increases. Okay, I finished working on all the places I marked. On each of the places I marked, I placed a 2 double crochet there, and then did my normal stitches until I got to the end of the row. So I'm just going to make for the second row, which would be the second row of increase. Okay, so I'm just going to, just like we did for the previous row, I'm going to place my stitch markers on the places where I'm going to be making my increases. Okay, so I need to make another 7 stitches increase. So I'm just going to place 7 stitch markers, and then we'll make our next increase. Okay, so I've placed my stitch markers for the second row of increase. Okay, so I'm just going to, just like we did for the previous row, I'm going to make my normal stitches, and when I get to the stitch marker, I'm going to place a two stitches in one. Okay, so this is my chain 3, counting as my first double crochet here. So I'm going to place a double crochet on the next stitch. On the next stitch, I'm also going to place a double crochet. On the next stitch, I'm placing a double crochet. On the next stitch here, I'm placing a double crochet. So I'm where my stitch marker is now. So I'm supposed to make a 2 in 1 stitch increase. So take off your stitch marker, and then as you can see, this my 2 in 1 is going to be on top of the previous 2 in 1 that we made. Okay, so yours might not be on top of it, it might be by the side before or after, it might be directly on top, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you make sure that you pick each of these stitches individually. Okay, and then you also remember to make your increase. So to make our increase, on the next stitch there, I'll make my double crochet as usual, and then you make another double crochet into that same stitch there. So that counts as your increase, and then you work your regular double crochet into the next stitch. Like I said earlier, depending on any stitch you're working, it can be single, it can be half double, it can be a treble crochet. Just follow the same technique and you get the same results. Okay, so this is it now. So as you can see, I picked on each of the stitches. So you just want to do the same, keep working like we did for the previous row, and then when you get to where your stitch marker is, you want to make your your 2 in 1. Okay, so I'm going to take off that stitch marker. This one also is also at the top of where the 2 in 1 is. So like I said before, yours can be before, yours can be after, depending on where you placed your stitch marker. It doesn't really matter. So you make your 2 in 1 double crochet. So that's one. I'm making another one into the same stitch space. So that's 2. And then you keep making regular double crochets on top of each of the next stitches, like so. And just like that, you're just going to keep repeating this until you get to the end of the row. Just like I said earlier, when you get where your stitch marker is, you take it off, place a 2 in 1 on that stitch, like so, until we get to the end. Okay, so I'm done with the second row of increase. I'm done working on all my stitches. Okay, and I made my increase. So depending on how many increases you want to do or how many rows you want your increase to be, you make it like that. So the same rules applies to any project you're working on, regardless of your hook size, your yarn type, the type of the project. Everything is the same. So we're going to measure this. You know, I said I want to increase it from a 6.5, which was what we have here initially. This was where we have about 6.5. So now we now increase it to 8.5. Okay, 9 inches, I mean. So remember we added 2.5 inches to the 6.5, so we're supposed to be having 9 inches of increase. So this is my tip. Okay, so as you can see, this is approximately about 9 inches, of which when it stretches it actually gets to that 9 inches. The difference is not much, does it? Okay, so that sums it up. So after you've done with your number of increases, okay, you just want to keep repeating your regular rows of normal, rows of no increase, no decrease, just normal till the length you want your work to be. So that sums it up for making your increases. Okay, so and also you notice that it flares up. Let me show you what it looks like. So as you can see from the previous work we did, this was where we did our decreases. Okay, so you can see it's actually shrunk in a bit. This was where we did the decreases in the previous video. Now for this video we now made our increases, which was these 2 rows now. So these were the 2 rows we just made. As you can see, it's flaying outwards. So that is that. So that's going to be the end of this tutorial, and thank you for watching. Bye.